let's talk about the book. What's the Norwegian title?
That's Mijn.
Okay.
That's has to do, of course, with Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf.
In what respect? Mijn strijd in Dutch.
Yes, that's right. When I started out, Mijn Kampf was only related to Mein Kampf. So when people heard about the title of my novel, they thought automatically of Hitler's Mein Kampf, of course.
Okay.
But then suddenly, or more slowly, this has changed. So this is becoming the title of my book now, I think. So it was kind of a question to take it back. The my in the struggle. It's my struggle.
Okay. You thought about that, taking it back, or?
I'm not sure why I picked the title, but I'm right very intuitively.
Yeah.
And the title was also picked like in intuition. I thought I was having a conversation with a friend. This book turned up, and he said, "There's your title," and I said, "Yes, you're right." And then my editor said, "No, you can't do that because it's such a taboo." The Mein Kampf, of course, but it was Mein Kampf. And
you didn't do it on purpose. You didn't purposely.
Yes, I did it on purpose, and what I liked about it, I think, was the fact that Hitler's Mein Kampf is pure ideology, so to speak, and my Mein Kampf is the opposite. It's the struggle in everyday life, which is a kind of anti-ideologic world, you know?
On a personal level.
Yes, on a personal level, yes. And those two levels are interwoven during the whole book. For instance, the struggle between the high art and the idea of writing, what shall I say, literature on a high level, and what I'm writing about. I mean, the subject is changing diapers on your kids and so on.
Okay, I suggest we talk about that later. Maybe you should first tell me a little bit about the content of the book.
Yes.
What's the book about?
This book is the first book of 6, which are very different, each and one, but it is one total novel. But the first book is about my father's death. It consists of 2 parts. One when the main character, which is me, are 16, and one when I'm 30. And in the first part, which is kind of the banality of being 16, I think, the father leaves the family. And in the second part, the father dies. And in the space between, he has become an alcoholic. So what happens is that me and my brother are going down to my grandmother's house, where he died, to bury him. And when we came in to the house, it's totally fucked up, it's totally destroyed. So what we do is we clean up the house. So this is a book about cleaning and crying, and it's about death, and it's about sorrow, but it's also a book about the influence of the influence of the father to the son, you know, and the relationship between them. So it's very much a father-son book, but the father are very distant in it because he's dead. So, yes, that's basically what it's about.
Okay. My feeling was, when reading the book, that it's about a son trying to relate to reality through his father.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. That's right. But I think what I experienced when this happened before I wrote it was that everything became meaningful. When I came into that zone where death was, everything became meaningful. So every detail became...
Everything became meaningful, or reality?
The reality became meaningful, more like a compression of meaning. And it was filled with sorrow. And then I left this state, so to speak, and then my world became meaningless again. And I wanted to explore this feeling of meaning, a compression of meaning, which I also have experienced when you fall in love. It's absolutely full with meaning. Everything is meaningful, and it's the same with that. And I wanted to try to recreate that movement from your life and into a kind of a zone where everything matters. Everything. Your cup of tea matters, and you can see your cup of tea and so on. Because I have a feeling in my life that my world is disappearing into pictures, into fiction, into stories, and so on and so on. Everything is going on somewhere else, not exactly here, not exactly now. I mean, I'm on the phone, I'm on the internet. Somewhere else is the place. And in this book, I wanted to take the world back and write about this place.
So, in your feeling, there's a big difference between the here and the now and the rest of what you experience.
Yes, the problem is that I'm not here.
You're not here
in the now. I always are somewhere else.
Let's take this situation, for instance.
Yes.
Are you here now?
No.
You're not?
No, not in this situation with you as a human being, as a person, because now we are discussing something else, which is my book. And
we're not discussing you.
Yes. And I have a language for discussing myself, because I've promoted this book quite a long time now. So, but that's not exactly what I'm meaning. That my point is just the tendency of the world getting disappearing, and the paradox is I can make the world meaningful and I can make the world visible, but it's in a book, and that's turning away from the world when you read, you know. But I think that's what literature can do. You have to turn away, but then you can maybe see something you haven't seen before, or even feel something you haven't felt before.
So you're not saying that it's especially a problem that we're turning away from reality or from meaning, as you say?
No, it's it's not, but it can be, of course. But I think it's too much. I think the TV news pictures are pure fiction, because we are not connected to it with our bodies. It's just visual. Everything is visual.
So when there's a volcano erupting, or there's an earthquake, or
yes,
there's a political crisis somewhere, that's fiction, you say?
Yeah, we relate to it as fiction, because we are so used to see it, and we don't really feel anything towards it, you know. And we have kind of a heaven of pictures in ourselves and above us, which is the modern life. That's the life in our time. And when, you know, there was the mass murderer in Oslo in this summer. Breivik, yes. I see these things on TV all the time, but I don't relate to it. I mean, people die in Baghdad, people die in, you know, all over the world, and you hear about it all the time. But then it was like something was taken away, and I could see directly into it, and it was having to do with me, and I felt the sorrow for those people, and I felt the sorrow for us, and there was a totally different situation, because it was close, and I could relate to it, and I could see through the pictures, because I knew the world, and it was kind of a we there for me then, being a Norwegian, and that made me see this flow of the world, of accidents, of death, which we can't relate to it, and we shouldn't relate to it, because it's too much.
We shouldn't, you say?
No, we shouldn't, because it's impossible to relate to all those catastrophes. But what are the catastrophes if you don't relate to it? It's entertainment. Yeah. You know, when you see an accident, for instance, a nuclear accident, you have you could have this evil feeling. I hope it happens more. I hope the accident became bigger. You know, which is human, but we have to. This is my opening of the book deals with this subject. death in general, accidents in general. And so the book goes into one person, which is me, and my father. So the book starts with the heart beating, that's everybody's heart, and then it goes down to my father's heart. And it's because I want to tell the story from the only perspective possible, which is one person here and now, you know? That's basically what I was trying to find a language for. Yeah.
If I understand well, this is what changed in your writing, I think. You wrote several novels.
Yes.
Before, and then you started writing about yourself.
Yes. That was because of this. I tried to write about... I wanted to write about my father's death. Because,
earlier?
Yes, because that was... I think we have one story in our lives, and this was my story. Because it was so dramatic and so filled with consequences and so destructive and dark. I want to tell a story, and I tried to tell it as a fiction, as a novel, but it didn't work.
And why didn't it work?
Yes, I don't know, but it just didn't. I think it was because there was no obligation for me in it. I needed that obligation to write about him as a person and not as just a father. And that exact person with that exact name I wanted to write about. And when I discovered that, I tried to write about my own life, my own character, try to get into the problem of death, which is almost impossible to write about. So then I wrote about myself being 16, going through a wood, having beer bottles in bags, going to a party in New Year's Eve. It's snowing, it's cold, we are not allowed in the party, and everything is a failure, and it's really about nothing, and it's really about banality. But when I brought that, I thought, okay, this is 100 pages about nothing.
Very detailed.
Yes.
A very detailed nothing.
Yes, and that's why you can see, no, this isn't nothing. This is the life. That's how it looks. And then I wrote about my father's death in exactly the same way, just details, just trying more or less being there. He died at my grandmother's place, and so he was taken away, and then we came. And the novel is just about what happened from hour to hour for 2 days. So this is not, if you want to retell this novel, it sounds like nothing. Yes, but okay, what happened? Nothing happens.
Well, earlier in our conversation, you said when you turn this type of reality into literature, it might be possible to discover something new or something else. And what could that be?
That's a tricky question, because I never know what I will find out when I start out writing. And
beforehand, but
before, yes, and everything is the process. Everything is coming in a process. So I never know where to go or why I'm going that way. Or, but I think what I want to avoid is thoughts, is reflections, is the frame of the world that we have. So I try to write at a very high speed to get under those frames. I mean, you said before the interview started that you liked chaos, and that conversations normally are chaos, and they are, and everything is more or less chaos. But we have an order, and we have fixed this, so it seems like it's...
That's your framework.
Yes, and I want to get under that, and if you start going into details, you can maybe see that. In my last novel, I wrote about things, all the things that was in my apartment. I started to write about
Objects.
objects. Yes. And
For instance, could you?
No, but
Could you give an example?
No, but I just started to write about all the things that was in the closets. I mean, clothes and so on, and all the things in the kitchen and all blah blah blah, and it went so overwhelming. It felt like a kind of a Baroque situation. This is insane. It's so. How can we relate to all those objects? And we can, because we know the difference between this jeans brand and this jeans brand, and we have so much knowledge about all those things, but we don't think about it. That's the place where we live and we do this. But if you start to write about each and every one of those objects, you can see it's a jungle or kind of a total Baroque world we live in.
Would it be possible to live this way instead of writing this way?
No, it would not be possible. You have to handle the world, to deal with the world. You have to make shortcuts. There's a lot of things you can't see. If you see them, you will be just...
You see it and you don't see it.
Yeah, you don't see it because you can't see it, because then you can't live, you know. This is a famous Borges short story about a man who remembers everything, and he's just paralyzed. He just lays there. He can't move, you know, and that's a very good picture of that. But in literature, you can go those paths, and then you have to discuss what is reality. Is this the reality, or is the reality the way we normally deal with it, you know?
Are you familiar with, for instance, the Buddhist tradition?
No, unfortunately. But my friend who reads what I do, he came back to Buddhism, especially the here and now aspect, and also the aspects of identity of. I think he's kind of interested in it, and he said you have to read about it.
Seeing things as they are, relating to things as they are.
Yes.
The here and the now.
But that's just art also. Art always do that. Literature and painting. And
okay. I was asking,
yes.
Indeed, because art is an important subject in the book.
Yes.
Could you explain to me why?
That has to do with meaning. That has absolutely to do with meaning, because this book started out with a feeling of meaninglessness, which is a death sin in the old, you know. It's the worst thing you can do is to see the world as a meaningless place, because life is a gift, you know.
Life is a gift.
Yes, and you throw it away.
From God?
I can't answer that. I'm just saying that.
You're not a religious person.
Yes, in a way I am, but I'm very interested in those subjects. I've written a lot about it, but that has also to do with meaning, of course. And if you are searching for meaning or truth or anything of those, you have to deal with religion, of course. But we were talking about...
Life is a gift, you said.
No, but before that it was meaninglessness, yes, and art. That's right. And I have 3 kids. I have a beautiful wife. I have a place to live. I have money enough to, you know, to run their life. But I was unhappy, and I didn't see a meaning with anything. And that was one of the reasons why I started out. How can I come here? How can I end up here? And I wanted.
How can I end up feeling unhappy?
Yes, in this.
With all this I gathered.
Yes, and I know that when I go to an art gallery or when I read a really good novel or a good poem, I can feel this instant meaning which can overwhelm you. You know, for maybe 10 seconds or 20 seconds or maybe a whole day, but you feel like you are connected to something very, very important. And so that's why I'm trying to write about art in the same way I write about my children or my wife. But I said, one sentence in the book is that I can even cry when I see a picture of a piece of art, but I don't when I see my children. But that has to do, I think, with the enormous, It's very enigmatic why a painting from Amsterdam is 400 or 500 years old of some objects should make me cry. Why? Because those objects, you can go and see them, or they don't. But there is something in the way they are seen and cut out and seen and painted, and which make them meaningful in a way. And I'm just searching for this meaning. What is that meaning?
Yeah, is there an answer to that? Are you referring to the Rembrandt, for instance?
Yes.
You're writing about?
Yes.
Which painting is it?
That's a painting I'm writing about. It's a self-portrait in London National Gallery.
Yeah, and it makes you happy.
It makes me not happy, but it makes me feeling that there is a connection to the world. I think. I guess there is something. It's very hard to say, and especially with this Rembrandt painting, because it's about him, of course, and it's like you can see his soul, and you can't, of course, but it's just a painting, but it's something in there that is you can relate to that person. You feel like there is a connection here, and connection between what? He's dead. He don't exist. What has he paint? What is his painting about? What's that feeling that you get? Of that there is something meanings and also comfort. I think there is in that painting.
Comfort.
Comfort, yes. See, it is like it's saying, okay.
Because you, sorry, yeah.
No, like it's saying. It's hard. I can't explain it, and this is in English. It's very difficult to talk about. But But I write a lot about art and literature in this.
But the comfort is it a feeling of not?
It's not a feeling of
being less alone.
Yes, or? Yes. That's how it is.
Okay. Feeling connected.
Yes. And I can get the same thing when you see a film from Chaplin or whenever that he's one of us. You know that feeling. It's like, and the kind is it is. Yeah. Oh.
Earlier you said you started writing this book, Mijn, Mijn, strijd in Dutch, because you were not happy. Did the writing make you happy?
No,
or the process?
No, and it's not. I didn't write it because I was unhappy, but I wanted to find out why. You know, why I felt this meaninglessness. No, don't make me happy to write, but it has a sort of reading has a sort of healing. You know, you don't get fixed, but it's good to read, and it's also can be good to write. Just the process, just being in that movement. But it's good to play in a band and play music, and it's the same as just doing something that creates something, I think, which is good in itself. And it's the opposite of destruction. And if you are a self-destructive person, like I can be myself, then this is a very good thing to do, to create and not to destroy, you know.
And my battle consists of how many books?
I'm sorry?
My battle consists of how many books?
6.
6. Okay. And it takes what period of your life? So now here's the death of your father.
Yes. And the first is the death of my father, and the second is.
You finished all 6?
Yes.
Already?
The 6th one is coming out in 2 days in Norway.
And that will be the last one?
Yes, that's definitely the last one. So it's 3,600 pages altogether, and it's all about my life. But it covers everything.
Okay.
Not everything, of course, but all the periods in my life.
16, starting at 16?
No, the first one is about the death of my father. The second one is about love, me falling in love with my wife, having children. And it's also about all aspects of love, also the frustration and hatred who can come up, and all the difficult situations. So these two are in a way connected: death, birth, or death, love. And then there are 3 books dealing kind of a Bildung novel from childhood, young man, man. And then the sixth is about everything and the present situation and everything that happened with the book and so on. And also consists of a 400 pages essay on Mein, Kampf by Adolf Hitler. So I'm trying to make a loop here, you know. And it's one novel, one big novel.
And will there be literature for you, writing literature for you after finishing these 6 books? Or are you ready?
The thought was that I should empty it and use everything I got and just pour everything out and no restriction whatsoever. And the last sentence I had in my mind all the way, and the last sentence was that, and I am so happy that I no longer are an author, which is the last sentence, and that's, maybe it was a way out for me, because there's been a huge, I have wrote extremely much, so I always knew that there is an end to it, and this is the end, and I'm not going to write novels no more, and so that's how it is.
So you're done?
I'm done with this novel project, and those novels, I've written 2 novels before, so these are 3 novels, and they are connected, so it's...
But will there be more books?
I really like to write essayistic literature, and I'm thinking of writing film manuscript or so on. So I will be writing in some sort, but not novels, so not in this this kind. No.
And what makes that you're ready? That you're finished?
It's the price for doing something like that is quite high, and it's.
What is the price?
The price is that everybody who reads the book, I give away my whole life, so to speak, and I'm selling it off, and it's. I felt really horrible when I wrote this book. I don't like writing about myself. Nobody believes this, but I don't do. And I have conflicts with a lot of person around me because of the book. And
because they find themselves...
And because they don't want to...
They don't want to be in the book?
No, and they are not... I have changed names and so on, but there are conflicts and so on. And I also get kind of famous for this because there was so much fuss and noise and attention, first in Norway and then in Sweden about it. And I see myself in the pictures, and I see myself as a character, you know, what's the word? Cartoon person. And I really am a shy person deep down, but now I have given away everything, feels like it. So I just want to be in peace and be by myself and my family, and so that's why this is a very good sentence for me, the last one, that I'm no longer part of this.
Okay, but normally in the Western world, the average male becomes 84, I think. Mm. So, and what's your age now?
I'm 42, yes.
Okay, so you're halfway.
I hope so. I hope I don't die when I'm 54, as my father did. I hope I can live till 84.
So there could be a second half to write about. No. But you're not going to do.
No, I don't want to do that. I have given away the first half. The last half I will have for myself.